Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream today. My name is Miriam. I'm an artist passionate about art, community, technology, and sustainability. And I'm excited to chat with Andrew from BetterTogether, a community of freedom seekers spanning the globe. They help others achieve their dreams or help each other achieve their dreams, really, through accountability groups and workshops and their exclusive tools that optimize performance. Welcome, Andrew. Thanks for taking the time. How are you and where are you in the world?
Miriam, thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely stoked to be here. And I'm currently in Portland, Oregon, but I am a digital nomad. So I've been on the road for the last 3 years. So this is a brief pit stop in the States before, hopefully heading abroad again, depending on the situation.
Cool. I feel like the last time we talked, you were in Puerto Rico.
That is
Is that
true. Yeah,
okay?
we were in Puerto Rico for 2 months, and that was wonderful. I absolutely love it there.
Yeah, Puerto Rico is beautiful. And let's just start off with a little bit about you. I know, like you said, you're a nomad, like a nomad of the world. You're also an entrepreneur. You've been traveling full time for the past 3 years. But what kind of brought you to this point in your journey? Like, where are you from, and how did you live your life, and then started deciding, like, oh, I'm going to do this better together?
Miriam, when you have like a little dream or like itch that you can't ignore, like that's essentially what Better Together has been for me. And so, when I graduated from college and I got my first job, I remember immediately having this like, oh no, like reaction. Like this is not for me. Like I thought, especially when I was, studying that I was going to work in the medical field and I was just, going to work in the corporate world for most of my life. That was my expectation. And when I got there, I was like, this isn't going to work. I need to do something that is for me, that is self-directed, that has more freedom around it. And so I was working at a medical lab, and I wanted to be, eventually like a doctor is what I was aspiring to. And I decided that I need to do something totally different. So I started learning computer programming and became a self-taught software developer. And that allowed me to go work for startups that were online. So I got this entrepreneurial experience.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, as I'm going through this journey, I'm also starting personal development blogs. I'm always fascinated with, how I can support other people, how I personally can live to the fullest of my potential, and how I can also help other people do the same thing. And so as I was transitioning essentially from the corporate world to being a digital nomad in the startup world, I actually started Better Together as something that I just needed. It was like me and a couple friends, and we would just meet and hold each other accountable. And we developed a really cool system for making sure we were motivated and inspired every week. And it just started organically growing. And so after a few years of doing Better Together on the side while I was working in the software world, I decided that I finally had enough certainty and validation, and there was a need for it. And I was excited to make that transition. So I quit my job, and now I just do Better Chair full time, and it's been a dream.
That's awesome. Congratulations. And I
Thanks.
feel you on that. Like, sometimes things come out of doing it for yourself and you really need it. And then you realize, oh, other people need this too.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, I knew there was something there when friends started asking to join. Before it was even like a paid thing. It was just like a bunch of friends, and we just would meet to help each other out.
Yeah. I love the name of it. It's really nice. How did you come up
Thank
with
you.
that? Is there a story there? Or?
Um, there is a story there, but it's maybe not as kind of magical as we might hope. We just tried a few different names and kind of found what resonated most with me and my partner. And we also put the survey out to a bunch of people and found, that was the name that people resonated with the most. And I was really happy to hear that because, it's the core philosophy of what we do is that there is enough success to go around, right? Like some people unfortunately have this sort of scarcity mindset with success where if one person becomes successful, then it feels like there's less for them, right? And there's like some weird jealousy and in comparison. And so we wanted to start a community where we all understood and we're coming from a place of deeply desiring the best for other people and for wanting them to achieve, because we know that that just makes a better world, and that allows us to have more opportunity when someone else around us is successful. So that's kind of the origin of the name.
I love it. Yes. So great to meet people like you that are doing this important work. So your mission is to make loneliness a choice, which I feel like I had to read that a few times. I'm going to bring up your website too so that we can check it out, because I read it a few times and I was like, am I reading this correctly? Like, what does that mean? What are you saying when you're like, we want to make loneliness a choice?
So I guess it's maybe a bit of a projection on my part, but when I was first starting out on this like entrepreneurial journey, I felt like it was really hard to find people who understood what I desired in life and were wanting to walk similar paths in their own life and shoot for something a little bit maybe extraordinary, and more exciting than the norm. And so I at that time felt pretty lonely. Like I felt like I had a lot of friends, but no one really understood what I was trying to accomplish. And so our mission is to make loneliness a choice, where if you have a dream, if you feel like nobody understands what you're working towards, or that is totally optional. You can just go to Better Together, and there's immediately hundreds of people who understand your passion, your drive, and will support you no matter where you are in your journey.
Right. Okay. So it's like, you don't have to be lonely. Like, that's a choice that you're making. We have a community. Come hang with us. Like, we got you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. And your website is dope. I love it. What is the who did your logo? I love the logo. It's like this like band of energy together. Like,
You know,
what's the story
we
there? I'm an artist. I want to know these things.
yeah, we actually just we used the service 99 Designs, which is just fantastic if you're, especially for entrepreneurs out there. Because we
Yeah.
had, I think something like 50 different designers working to find a logo that we wanted. And so, I gave them the feelings we wanted to convey, which is, inclusivity, togetherness, all the things the brand and the mission stands for. And the designers turned out some amazing logos. So it was really tough to make that final decision, but this is the one we went with.
Nice. And you were kind enough to invite me to join your Slack channel. Thank you. It's been cool. I'm getting into Slack, and I got a little bit of an inside look into the community and the interactions that are going on there. I'm really loving it. People are highly engaged. What do you think you're doing that's resonating with all of these people?
I think it goes back to the mission that you were talking about, where loneliness can become a choice for people. And especially during COVID, right? The pandemic and lockdowns, I feel like this is a bit more of a pressure cooker around people feeling isolated and a bit lonely. So I think that definitely plays into it. I think also that just the way that our society is set up, right, is that if you are somebody who wants to live a different type of life, you want to be an artist, you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to do something outside of the norm, it's relatively hard to find structures and systems that are going to support that and propel you forward. And so, most people, I think somewhere deep inside have a dream to do something a little bit different and maybe extraordinary with their lives. And so that's what we're trying to tug on. That's what we're trying to, kind of activate in people, is remember whatever passions you had, and then this is the place where we can, feel safe to cultivate those flames and progress as individuals.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Artists are not taught business. Like, even artists that went to art school, I realized that there's no system in place for them to make their dreams a reality. I'm the same way. I'm always working with the artists that come across my way. It's like, okay, you need to put yourself like a foundation, like you can make this work. Like you can do whatever you want to do every day. It's possible. It just takes a little bit of fandangling around the rules of the game that we're in right now. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And seeing people who like you, right, who are artists and have found some success, it's inspiring. Then it gives other people then the permission to chase that dream. So that is an infectious, motivation and sense of hope that we can give people, which is really really fun.
thank you. Yes. Um, can you talk a little bit more about this escape plan? Because I find that very interesting. Like I feel like there's so many people I know that need an escape plan. you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, absolutely. This is one of the things that I'm most kind of passionate about is because I often will meet people that are kind of feel like they're stuck in the 9 to 5 or maybe at a job that they even like hate sometimes. But these people often feel like there's not a plausible way to get out of the 9 to 5.
Right.
And so for me, like I'm obsessed with chess. Like I like thinking multiple moves ahead. And so when I was trying to plan how I could get out of the sort of the rat race, it was very strategic. It was, okay, let's work remotely. Let's leverage that remote work to free up our time. And then we can also, because we're working remotely, go to other parts of the world where we could, in a way, leverage the global economy to save more money, to build ourselves a runway.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to do both those things. And that allowed me to have the job and also to build the side hustle, which is Better Together. And then also save up a nice runway. And then so from that and able to validate the business, it was a very smooth transition, right? And so with this escape plan, like what we help people do is calculate, exactly how much money they would need for a runway, whether it's to start a business or to, do some other sort of large pivot in their life. What's the strategy? What are the steps you're going to follow? How much money would you like to save up? How can we do this practically in an exciting manner where you feel empowered because you see that it's so doable, so that's what we like to do is help people be practical dreamers.
I love that. So you definitely couldn't have planned in all of your strategy for the pandemic. What about like things like that or cryptocurrency now? Like, how are you taking that into account? Or like, if people want to have a family later on and settle down and, what are some of the other things that are you're thinking for yourself? Like, if I could dive into your brain for a minute, what's the strategy long term? Like, give me a 15-year kind of Andrew, 15 years with all of the things that are happening.
Sure. Yeah.
What are
So
the
I mean,
chess moves?
yeah, there's a few on the horizon. I mean, so I definitely would like to have a family one day, and I still want to be nomadic, and I still want to build businesses that are inspiring people and are making the world a better place. And so I guess, are you asking like what my personal sort of 15-year vision is?
Sure. Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know, because you're talented in this way of planning out and taking into account all of the different variables, like what is the plan? Because I feel like I've
Got
got
it.
some ideas and I'm like, okay, but there's all of these things going on, like there's this growing middle class overseas and,
Mm,
developing nations are facing new challenges. And, the United States, our education system is like in shambles, kind of, or like it's going through a lot because of the pandemic, and cryptocurrency is coming for us, these radical new financial models, and millennials like have no money. Gen Z is coming up. Like, what are your thoughts on
yeah.
some of the great problems facing our world? The climate
Sure.
crisis.
Oh, yeah, there's so much going on. Well, I guess I can share with you like my personal approach to like navigating some of these challenges. And the first one of the number one things for me is maintaining a global citizenship, right? So having roots in different countries, I think is really, really important because, as you said, the education system in the US is going through a rough period right now, but countries rise and fall throughout all of history, right? So we have no real assurance that, the US or any other country for that matter is going to always be a great place to live. And so I think it's really important, at least for me personally, and for my family, to think about having roots around the world in different places that we can kind of, go to if we need to. So that's really important. Not to mention the, just the huge amount of personal growth and development that we go through when we're in different cultures and we're experiencing the world firsthand. It's such I think it's a really important way to live, honestly. So that's one of the things that I think about. I think cryptocurrency, I've been a huge fan of cryptocurrency for a long time. And so I definitely recommend that anyone who's not interested in it become so, and at least understands the basics of the technology, because it's going to be something that stays with us. And I don't know, there are two of my quick thoughts. And obviously, building as an entrepreneur, right? Building services that do appeal to the middle classes, around the world, I think is really important, and start having those connections. And so that's something we really made a strong effort to do in Better Together. And we have members from Europe, obviously from North America, and also from South America. And we'd like to expand that further. I'd love to be on all of the, major continents. That would be a dream, but we'll get there.
Totally. I'm on Clubhouse a lot, and Africa seems to be really coming up. And I was watching India a lot before. It's so awful what's happening over there with them. So many challenges. Of course, let's talk about that. When you were launching Better Together, what are some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them? And maybe if you could pinpoint on ones that other people might also be facing as they're launching something new.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone's listening and you're building something new or in the process of launching something new, I know firsthand how difficult it can be. And so I definitely want to extend a lot of compassion and empathy to you. I think some of the difficulties that I've experienced are very typical for most entrepreneurs, right? So things like the roller coaster of emotions, like, oh, this is going to be such a huge success. And then another moment feeling like, oh, this is going to be a total failure and this is a waste of my time, right? Like this psychological roller coaster that's part of the journey. I think what has really helped me with the mindset piece is simply remembering that I signed up for this, right? And if you're a founder out there, if you're an artist and you have bold ambitions and you're trying to build something amazing, it's going to be tough. But what helps me is remembering that I signed up for the struggle, right? I signed up for the difficulty. Like I didn't want, I wanted something so big and so different that I was willing to go through whatever it took to get there. Mm-hmm. And so I think for entrepreneurs out there, getting your mindset right and strong and healthy is really, really important. And that's one of the huge benefits of entrepreneurship, because it will actually, in a lot of ways, force you to learn and to grow those skills so that you can be successful. So I think that's really important. And, obviously some of the ways that I handled that or found ways around that were finding a support system, making sure I didn't feel like I was alone while I was building, because that can be really excruciating. If you feel like nobody understands your struggle, nobody understands what you're going through, nobody understands your aspirations, that just compounds all of your problems. So I would say the support system and the mindset were key for me in having the consistency to follow through with what I wanted.
100. I agree with you. And so what are some of the challenges that you're facing now with your brand, and what's your plan?
Yeah, so my biggest challenge, and this is probably because, I have a software developer background, I have a coach background, but I don't have any real experience in marketing, right? So this is my big challenge, is like, how do I get the word out? How do I start doing more things like this? how do I promote Better Together in a way that really resonates with people and gets them excited? I'm still searching to find that formula that I can use to reliably get the word out. So that's my biggest challenge. It's a totally new skill set for me, and so there's been a lot of ups and downs with trying to learn, different strategies and tactics for marketing.
For sure. It's like a whole thing. And
Yeah.
that's how we met, was through that 100 by 100 days, 100 users challenge. And we're going to be doing some work together to get some people in. I'm very excited about it.
Same here.
So I've got some more questions, but we're running a little bit out of time. But let's talk a little bit about the book, because you have a book. It's an ebook. You and your co-founder wrote it together. Talk to me about, I also have a publishing company, so people that watch my content are interested in this. And I'm always telling people that books are great. They should do it. So talk to me about where that came from, like the process of writing the book and putting it out, and what routes you took.
Yeah. So the ebook's called The Side Hustler's Operating System. And my co-founder Kyle and I wrote it over the course of probably about 3 or 4 months. And our goal with this ebook was to give side hustlers, or people that are in the 9 to 5 who are maybe looking for that escape plan that we're talking about, a system that allows them to be as effective as possible with building their side hustle. Because obviously, right, if we have a lot of demands on our time, if we have the 9 to 5, it can be really, really hard. Sometimes it can feel impossible to carve out enough time to make significant progress on whatever project matters more to you than that job. And so we wanted to give people a really simple productivity system where they could effectively carve out time, make sure that they're making progress on the things that matter most. So the book outlines like some kind of a novel productivity system, some time management strategies, and then it also it is kind of a push for some of the software tools we developed in Better Together, which allows people to reflect on their week, do kind of a traditional weekly review, but with a little bit of tweaks for us, where we're tracking and building a data model based on how you report your performance every week, where we can actually see where in our lives we could optimize a little bit to become more effective people and then entrepreneurs as a result.
Okay, this is dope. So this is kind of like, is this an app that goes along with the community?
Yeah, so it's not really clear on our website, because right now we only allow people to get access to the app if they signed up. And so our app actually does a lot of different things, and we're just going to open it up so anyone can sign up and just use the app. But the app is the cornerstone of all of our meetings and all of our different mastermind groups that support our different entrepreneurs and artists. And the app lets us do some really fun things. It allows us to have productivity challenges between the groups. It allows us to track our performance every single week. It allows us to set big milestones for the quarter, and then some weekly goals underneath that becomes then transparent to the rest of the community and the group. So you have some built-in accountability. So the goal of the app is to, one, tie everyone together, but also to allow all of our users to understand how they're showing up and have some tools for just being more effective producers, artists, entrepreneurs, etc.
Interesting. This sounds so interesting to me. So do I treat it kind of like a journal of my life, as well as like it has my calendar in it and maybe my tasks that I complete?
Exactly. Well, sort of, right? So the weekly review is the cornerstone of the Better Together data system. And that's a chance for you to journal, like you were kind of intuiting, which is what we ask people is like, how did you show up as a professional, right? How do you show up in your relationships? We ask people, what does your heart want? Because we want to make sure that people are taking the time to check in with their true desires for life. And so you have that journaling opportunity, but then we also ask a series of questions that we've taken from leading research in psychology and high performance, where you're rating yourself according to things like your internal accountability systems, your external accountability systems, your courage, how much fear played a role in your life, your mindfulness, and we track about 20 different key performance metrics, and that allows us to kind of crunch the numbers, see how you're showing up week after week, and then we can use that data to say, hey, Miriam, did you know that when you do X, Y, and Z, you're actually reporting being a lot more joyful and productive? So, we got sort of, I couldn't resist building an app, with my background.
Dude, I'm really interested. Like, I feel like I want to know how, this might gross you out a little bit, but I want to know like how my period affects my productivity. Do other women ask you this too? Does it track that?
Oh, that's a great idea. We should. There's actually some amazing research around this, and I'm sure it does, right? Obviously, don't have firsthand experience, but all the women in my life, I know that there is a definite correlation. And so there's something interesting you could do with like our software, which is kind of note, where you are in your cycle, and then you could compare that to the productivity, which is how many goals you got done with your Better Together group. So that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah. The next level of this too is like, for me at my level, I want to know how things that I'm doing are affecting my team. Does the app do that? You know what I mean? Like I get all of them on the app, and then I'm like, because sometimes I'm like, dang, if I have a bad team meeting, like things don't go well, then like the whole next few days, they're just trying to like recover, which obviously I'm working on my own leadership, but I would love to, that would be nice to see like in numbers, when you do that, this happens.
Yeah. That's interesting, Miriam, because what gave me the confidence to finally take the jump away from my job and just do Better Together full time was we were doing we had a business to business contract with a company that was doing something extremely similar to that. And so we were running all of their team through Better Together groups and tracking the data every single week. And that allowed that team to, one, work on the cohesiveness of their team, but also get some visibility into how everybody is showing up. So yes, it can definitely be used in that way. That's not the primary, model that we have, but we've definitely done it in the past, and it can be really, really effective.
Cool. I'm very excited. I'm so glad we met. Thank you for taking the time today. I hope we get to meet in person sometime at some point if you're ever in Florida. But in the meantime, I'm looking forward to following your journey and working together.
Awesome, Miriam. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Florida, and thank you so much for setting this up and asking me all those great questions.
See you later. Bye.
Take care.